Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to one of my games, and this is actually my perspective of a battle that I had with Des Games. Now, I linked on my various Twitters and Facebooks and whatever that particular video, and I'll probably put in a link in the description below as well. But basically, on the Sunday just gone, we had a session where we played together for like an hour and a half, I think, maybe a little bit longer, and we had some pretty decent games. Now, ordinarily, I probably wouldn't have put up this replay, but there were one or two requests to specifically see my point of view of this battle. And I went back and looked at the actual file, and I thought, you know, there probably is one or two things I can think to say about this. There's one or two points I can make. And although in of itself it's a decent battle, it was definitely a decent game for me in the IS-4. And it was a very good game for Des. He actually came out comfortably top place on this team. But it lets me talk about platooning a bit, because that's another thing that's come up recently with videos and the personal missions just generally. But I mentioned in the video I did, the first video I did on personal missions, about my initial surprise that people would be so annoyed about, you know, some people anyway, about the requirement to platoon up. And okay, yes, individual missions makes it sound like it's nothing to do with platooning up, but that's what Wargaming decided to do. And I can understand some of people's reasons for not wanting to, but this video, I've decided I'm gonna frame it in this way. I'm gonna talk about the benefits of platooning, how a platoon can be stronger than the sum of its parts, purely just because you can communicate effectively with at least one, maybe even two, if you've got two friends, that's even better, members of your team. And that can actually make a really big difference, just being able to coordinate that little bit extra. In theory, of course, you can do it just with the in-battle chat, but for one thing, it's a lot harder to type in the thick of battle. And for another thing, and this is especially true on the EU server, is that not everybody speaks the same language. Now, it's probably a bit easier on the Russian server, maybe on the NA server when there's going to be, well, English is going to be the dominant language there, I'm sure, but I expect there will be a smattering of other languages still as well. But there's quite a big diversity of languages and just nationalities playing on the EU server, so there's absolutely no guarantee that the person you're trying to chat to in the chat has any English whatsoever. At least from my point of view as somebody who speaks English, you know, just barely. So Des has gone into the village position in A4. He can shoot at stuff going across. And I was cautious in getting to this position because I don't want to be overrun myself. But if it comes to that, I can back off and have fire support from everything that's on that middle ridge line. So I'm not going to charge in just yet. I didn't feel like being aggressive because I don't know what's behind that IS-7. A couple of things have been spotted, but as of yet we don't know the entirety of what's there, because the entire enemy team, we don't know where they all are yet. We can see there's a bunch on the southern flank, unfortunately owning our bat chats, and we know of a couple that are here, but going gung-ho at this point would probably be a bad idea. So I already kind of wasted one shell against the IS-7. I really was just playing with the armor angling here and just side scraping and taking snapshots basically. I mean, some of these, like that one there, that's quite lucky that actually didn't skitter off his turret. Now the IS-8, the way he was angled, there was probably about, like, I don't know, 75–80% chance that that was always going to pen, but with that kind of popping out, taking a shot, even at close range, you might accidentally derp somebody in the turret or bounce it off something awkward. So there we go. So there are a few tanks there, like E5 being there. You know, if I just plunged round that corner, even with the fire support from Des, all we have immediately behind us are a couple of tier 8s, and one of those just got nuked, unfortunately. Most of these guys are in cover from the fire support on that middle ridge, so most of the damage that's being done here is between myself and Des has got a really nice firing position right now. He's not being pushed by anybody, and these guys aren't pushing me. Now that was a wasted shell. Some of these shells, I mean, this battle has some prime moments of derp from me. And that's maybe not going to be a surprise to a lot of people, but anyway. So that was, again, trying that snapshot, but that time it was like upper front plate. Of course it pinged off. The upper front plate on the 110E5 is actually pretty good. Now that IS-7 has taken a real battering, and now he's dead, which is really nice. The E5 decides he's got nothing to lose by going forwards at this point, because if he tries to retreat, Des is just going to shoot him a bunch of times. And at this point, I get a bit annoyed, and you can hear this in the live recording, because that car wreck that's behind me is preventing me from driving backwards. Yeah, no, physics, how does it work? So, this looks fairly comfortable. I've got this guy right. I go for that, no, I was going to go for the tumour, and then I decided I was going to go for the side of the turret, and then he turned his turret and it all bounced. Meanwhile, he's been able to shoot me another time in the top of the turret, but I'm just hoping to, there we go, that one, did he do something? I don't know. But I get my gun up in time to block his return shot, because I know where he's aiming at this point. And then I back off against low front plate, and there we go. I don't know if that second to last shot actually penned. If it didn't pen, it was kind of unlucky that it didn't pen. The tumour on there is kind of troll sometimes, and oh, hello. Yeah, that's one of those moments when you think, yeah, he's got an Indian Panzer behind him. Surely he's turning to look at the Indian Panzer. No, he was looking still in my direction because, yeah, sometimes overestimating the intelligence of your enemies, like thinking, well, logically they'll be turning around to face this new threat from behind. Not so much, no. But anyway, we spotted on the minimap what had happened on the southern flank, and we knew we had to pick up the pace in the city to try and get back. And this is where, in theory, you know, what they're trying to do right now, they're coming awfully close to winning by cap, and we didn't think we'd get back there. But in theory, you can defend from this mid-ridge. And we have a Rheinmetall there with a really good view range. But he wasn't really spotting, so we just have to plow in, and I take a big hit in the process. That was through the axle because it tracked and damaged. I straighten up a bit to try and get a bounce if he fires again, but unfortunately he appends again. So it's a good thing I didn't lose many hit points in the city, and I probably lost more than I needed to, but it was still enough that I could survive those 2 hits and survive the loss of that, what, 1,250 hit points, something like that? So their risky strategy did not pay off. Trying to cap, especially the south spawn on this, like there's no cover in the cap at all. And although I really took it on the chin there, the fact that that guy was firing at me with all the hit points as opposed to Des or somebody else with fewer hit points meant that we could just clean that up really easily. So I'm just auto-aiming, I'm just going to do a drive-by, and it actually works. I wasn't going to really pause to shoot that guy because we've got you know, a bunch of friendlies here. I knew someone would finish him. And all that's left now is this 110. Des, by the way, at this point had run out of his AP and his APCR. That's how many shots he'd fired. He was down to his 120mm Hesh at this point. That's all he had left. So it's me, the 110, and the Bulldog going south. Although the 110 kind of puts himself out of it, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what the 110's doing. Des and the 2 tank destroyers are looping round back north. We know where the last defender is. And hey, look, that 110 drowned himself. There's probably a bumper sticker on the back of his tank that says, "My other vehicle is an artillery." I don't know, that's just... yeah, I don't know why people do that. I mean, artillery players have that reputation, and it's something you see artillery players doing a lot more often than other players, but sometimes players driving other tanks do it all the same. So, yeah, big shout out to that guy. You know, that's how the pros do it, clearly. This T-28, however, he's going down swinging. We'll give him that. He's now alone and outnumbered, and we're going to surround him on all sides. But at least he went down fighting and didn't drown himself. Our 110, well, you can see what I mean. It basically puts himself out of the fight. He's all the way down in K5, K6 for some reason. Not quite sure why. But at this point, it's just a matter of taking this guy out. And you can see there, Des, not doing much damage, but like I said, he's only got Hesh at this point. The Walker Bulldog looks like he might get the kill, and I just stop and aim, get the final shot, get the final kill, and there we go. He was actually close to, Des that is, he was actually close to getting a Fade-Ins medal in this one, but he would have had to fire a couple more. But there are points there, I mean, especially that action that we had in the city, that we were able to bracket those enemy heavies really nicely with that level of coordination, even just to coordinate our team positions to best make the use of the vehicles that we were in. Because, of course, the 215B, it's got a decent amount of armor, but it's better at hull down. And if you can get the kind of situation where someone with better armor, in my case, on IS-4, side-scraping, was able to distract them, keep them lit up, bounce some shots, do some damage, and he could keep that gun singing the whole time and be able to rack up a pretty respectable amount of damage in the meantime. Well, that really decisively swung the battle in the city area in our favour, and it's really no coincidence that we are both the top of our team. He was in first place and I was in second, and between us we had over 10k damage. It was nearly 11k damage in fact, and 6 kills. So on the kill count, you know, nothing that special. We're not gonna get any awards for doing that, but the coordination, being able to work that way, you know, if it had been a random vehicle, just a random person, not a platoon mate in his position, we maybe wouldn't have been able to coordinate nearly as well. In fact, I might not have pushed up to where I was, because if I don't use XVM, I don't know how far I can trust my teammates sometimes. Sometimes I take a risk and it pays off and it's glorious. Other times you take a risk and it's like, well, okay, then that could have gone better. But that's the best part of platooning. And I know I sound like I'm trying to sell it here, but it is having someone that you can rely on. And sometimes in a battle at a really crucial stage, or even a crucial whole section of the battle, that can really make a difference. So there are going to be some people that are just philosophically opposed. I'm doing so well with speaking today. Opposed to platooning. And okay, that's fair enough. If you don't want a platoon, you don't have to. The game does not force you to. And I do think it's dumb that the individual platoon, the individual missions force you up to platoon up at various stages. That just, you know, like, yeah, okay, well done, Wargaming. But still, I think there are some people out there that are, maybe they've never been in a clan, that they're just wary of the whole thing of playing with people they don't know. Well, I can kind of see that as well, but honestly, even if you are two players of average ability in a platoon, if you are working together and coordinating together, a platoon can definitely be better than the sum of its parts. And although you might end up in a situation where, and this is true for me, it's not going to be true for everyone, but being in a platoon can actually sometimes, it will help your win rate, but might not necessarily help your other stats, because you end up, if you're platooning with good players like Zircon and Fosh, you know, I'm competing with them directly for the damage and the kills on my team. But at the same time, the reason I platoon with them is because I really like playing with them, and I know I can rely on them, and sometimes they can even rely on me, although, you know, not always, as anybody that's watched the stream knows. But honestly, I think if you haven't tried platooning up, and if it's just the thought of playing with a random player, well, there are various in-game channels that you can check out. You know, there's, I think, a fairly permanent Reddit channel on, I think, definitely the NA, probably the EU server as well. And you go in there and you can just ask people if they want a platoon, and, you know, somebody might. There's the Reddit subreddit itself. That's an awkward way of saying it. There's the World of Tanks subreddit where you can go in and say, you know, who wants a platoon with me, or I want to improve my stats, or, you know, just, I think the social part of this game is, it's what keeps me playing at this point. If I was just playing solo, I probably would have hit the level of, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I probably would have burned out on this game a long time ago. But it's being able to play with people that I enjoy playing, and I've made friendships along the way. I know people from all across Europe as a result of doing this, and I think that's really neat. And I think that's a powerful reason for playing, like, online games generally, is you can meet some really interesting people doing it, and I have. and I've gotten better as a player along the way, but that wasn't the goal of it. The goal of it was just to find people I like playing with, and I have, and I think some people are probably missing out if they just ignore that side of the game. But like I've said, other people, they have specific reasons for not, and that's fine too. You know, you can just always solo queue, and you know, all power to you and the best of luck to you. But for the rest who are maybe iffy about it, no, give it a go. You never know. You never know. So there we go. That was my point of view of that battle, and I got to witter on about platooning a bit as well, because I think it's pretty neat sometimes. So if you enjoyed this replay, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.